Good morning, everyone. Brett Kavanaugh speaking. So I'm sitting here this Tuesday morning in my chambers, sipping my second cup of coffee, and yes, it's already my second because what I read last night kept me up when this classified briefing lands on my desk. NATO strategic review, routine stuff, right? Wrong. Look, I've been in this system for decades. I thought I understood how things work in Washington. Pentagon calls the shots militarily, state handles diplomacy. We judges interpret the law when things get messy, clean divisions, constitutional framework, all that good stuff we learned in law school. But this document, man, this thing opened my eyes in ways I wasn't expecting. See, my buddy Jake from Pentagon, can't tell you his real name, obviously, but he's been around since Bush Sr., calls me last night, says, Brett, you need to understand what's really happening with our European allies. What you're about to read in that NATO file, it's not what the public thinks. And he was right. What nobody talks about. Here's the thing that struck me first. We don't have allies in Europe. We have dependencies. Big difference. When I was reviewing cases related to European trade disputes last year, something felt off. German companies losing cases against American tech giants, French energy firms getting squeezed by our sanctions, Italian banks falling in line with Treasury Department demands. Too coordinated, too systematic. Then I start digging deeper, not as a judge, mind you, but as someone who's genuinely curious about how power really works. And the picture becomes crystal clear. NATO isn't a mutual defense alliance. It's a control mechanism. Always has been. Think about it logically. Article 5 says an attack against one is an attack against all. Sounds great in theory, but when was the last time European forces actually defended American territory? Never happened. Meanwhile, we've dragged Europeans into Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, every conflict we've initiated for the past 30 years. The relationship isn't reciprocal, it's hierarchical. My Pentagon dinner revelation. So Jake and I are having dinner at this little place in Arlington. You know, one of those spots where Pentagon folks go to decompress, and he starts explaining the real NATO doctrine. Brett, he says, you want to know why we keep expanding NATO eastward? It's not about Russian threats. Russia's economy is smaller than Italy's. Their military budget is, what, 1/10 of ours? They're not invading anyone who matters. Then why, I ask? Because every country that joins NATO surrenders strategic autonomy. They can't make independent defense decisions. They can't pursue independent foreign policies. They can't even buy weapons from non-American suppliers without our approval. That hit me like a ton of bricks. He continues, look at Germany, largest economy in Europe, right? But they can't build a pipeline with Russia without asking our permission. They can't sell technology to China without treasury clearance. They can't even process payments through their own banks if we decide to sanction somebody. This isn't conspiracy theory stuff, folks. This is documented policy. The German problem, let's talk about Germany for a minute, because their situation perfectly illustrates what I'm getting at. You remember Nord Stream, right? Those pipelines that mysteriously exploded last year. I've seen the classified assessments. The official story is Ukrainian divers, Russian false flag, technical malfunction, pick your narrative. But here's what the intelligence community really knows. Somebody wanted to permanently cut the economic link between Germany and Russia. Now, who benefits from that? Well, Germany certainly doesn't. They're now paying 3 times more for energy. Their industrial competitiveness is shot. Chemical companies, steel manufacturers, automotive plants, they're all shutting down or moving production to America and Asia. Russia doesn't benefit either. They lost their biggest customer and had to redirect supplies through more expensive routes. But America, we're now selling liquefied natural gas to Europe at premium prices. Our energy companies are making bank. Our industrial sector gains competitive advantage as German factories close. The math isn't complicated. During my confirmation hearings, senators kept talking about defending democracy and protecting allies, noble words, but when I see classified assessments that explicitly discuss the economic benefits of European dependence, well, it makes you question the narrative. The French rebellion Macron figured this out faster than most European leaders. That's why he started talking about strategic autonomy and European independence. Smart guy. former banker, understands how financial control works. But watch what happened to him. French media started running negative stories. His approval ratings dropped. Suddenly there were riots in Paris, strikes everywhere, political scandals emerging. Classic destabilization playbook. I'm not saying we orchestrated all that. I'm saying we have tools to make life difficult for leaders who don't play along. Economic pressure, intelligence sharing cutoffs, trade disputes, media campaigns. It's all very sophisticated. Macron got the message. Notice how quiet he's been about strategic autonomy lately. The Article 5 trap. Here's something most Americans don't understand about Article 5. It only works one way. If Estonia gets attacked, American soldiers die defending Tallinn. If America gets attacked, European contribution is minimal. During 9/11, NATO formally invoked Article 5 for the first and only time. What did Europe provide? Symbolic support, token forces, moral solidarity. Meanwhile, we've got 100,000 American troops permanently stationed in Europe, not temporary deployments, permanent bases. Germany hosts our largest overseas military presence. Italy, Spain, UK, Poland, we've got installations everywhere. But here's the kicker. Those aren't just military bases. They're intelligence collection sites, drone operation centers, nuclear weapons storage facilities. Europe doesn't host American military assets. Europe is an American military asset. Every major European city is within range of American missiles stationed on European soil. Every European government communicates through American monitored channels. Every European military operates American equipment with American-controlled logistics. That's not alliance. That's occupation with better branding. The economic leash military control is obvious. Financial control is subtle. European banks process dollar transactions through American clearing systems. European companies need American technology for everything from smartphones to industrial equipment. European governments hold their reserves in American treasuries. One phone call from Treasury can freeze any European bank out of the global financial system. Ask the Russians how that feels. During the 2008 financial crisis, European banks needed Federal Reserve liquidity swaps to survive. During COVID, European governments needed American pharmaceutical companies for vaccines. During the energy crisis, European consumers needed American gas supplies. Every crisis reinforces dependency, and we're very good at ensuring there are plenty of crises. What Europeans don't understand, I was at a conference in Brussels 2 years ago, judicial exchange program, very boring stuff officially. But I got to observe how European officials really think about America. They genuinely believe they have influence over our policies. They think the special relationship with Britain means something. They think Franco-American cooperation is meaningful. They think German-American economic partnership is based on mutual respect. It's almost endearing. Meanwhile, our policy papers explicitly discuss Europe as a managed region. Not partner region, not allied region, managed region. The Pentagon's European Command doesn't coordinate with European forces, it directs them. The State Department doesn't negotiate with European governments, it instructs them. The Treasury doesn't collaborate with European finance ministries, it dictates to them. The Russian pretext. Now, I'm not defending Putin here. The guy's authoritarian, no question. But the idea that Russia threatens European security? Come on. Russia's GDP is smaller than Texas. Their military can barely handle Ukraine. They've got demographic decline, economic sanctions, technological isolation. They're not conquering anyone. But Russia provides a convenient justification for American military presence in Europe. Every Russian move, real or imagined, justifies another American base, another NATO expansion, another increase in European defense spending on American weapons, naturally. The Russians almost seem to play along. Putin makes threatening speeches, Russian jets buzz European airspace, Russian hackers target European infrastructure. Perfect timing for our defense budget requests. It's like professional wrestling. Looks real from the audience, but both sides know the script. Brexit. The warning shot. Brexit was supposed to be Britain asserting independence. Remember the rhetoric? Taking back control, making independent trade deals, escaping Brussels bureaucracy. What actually happened? Britain became more dependent on America than ever. Financial services moved from London to New York. Trade deals favor American companies, defense procurement shifted to American suppliers, intelligence sharing increased American access to British data. Brexit didn't give Britain independence, it gave America direct access without having to go through Brussels. The lesson for other European countries was clear. You can leave European institutions, but you can't escape American influence. Independence isn't really an option. My constitutional concerns. As a Supreme Court justice, this stuff keeps me awake at night. The Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war, but NATO's Article 5 essentially commits America to automatic military response without congressional authorization. How is that constitutional? The Constitution protects American sovereignty, but NATO integration puts American forces under multinational command structures. How does that work with American constitutional law? The Constitution requires Senate approval for treaties, but NATO expansion happens through partnerships and agreements that bypass Senate review. Since when do military commitments not count as treaties? These aren't academic questions. This is about the rule of law versus the logic of empire, and empire always wins until it doesn't. The end game. So, where does this lead? Europe will never develop strategic autonomy as long as America has veto power over European decisions. And America will never give up that veto power because European independence threatens American hegemony. The current system works perfectly for American elites. European markets for American products, European resources for American consumption, European soldiers for American wars, European legitimacy for American actions, but it's unsustainable long-term. Why? Because other powers are offering Europeans alternatives. China provides economic partnership without political conditions. Russia offers energy supplies without strategic dependence. Even countries like Turkey are pursuing independent foreign policies despite NATO membership. Europeans are starting to notice that American protection comes with American control, and some of them are deciding that the price is too high. The question nobody asks. Here's what really bothers me about this whole situation. We never have honest debates about American strategy in Europe. Politicians talk about defending democracy and protecting allies. Defense contractors talk about necessary capabilities and emerging threats. Think tanks talk about maintaining stability and deterring aggression, but nobody talks about what we're actually doing, running a protection racket. Pay us for security, buy our weapons, follow our policies, support our wars. In return, we protect you from threats that may or may not exist. And if you stop paying, well, look what happened to countries that tried to leave our sphere of influence. My personal dilemma as a judge, I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, but the reality of American power makes constitutional governance increasingly difficult. When the president can commit forces to European conflicts without congressional approval, when intelligence agencies can monitor European leaders without judicial oversight, when financial regulators can sanction European companies without due process, what's left of constitutional constraints? The system has evolved beyond the framework the founders created. Maybe that was inevitable. Maybe global hegemony requires imperial methods, but we should at least be honest about what we've become. Conclusion. So there you have it, folks. NATO isn't what your civics textbook says it is. It's not a mutual defense alliance between equal partners. It's a hierarchy with America at the top and everyone else following orders. Does this make us safer? Probably in the short term. Controlling Europe gives us strategic depth, economic access, and global legitimacy. Does this make us better? That's a different question. And does this last forever? Nothing lasts forever in international relations. Other powers are rising. European populations are getting restless. American resources are getting stretched. The system that worked for 75 years might not work for the next 25. But for now, NATO keeps Europe under control. And from Washington's perspective, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Thanks for listening. Same time next week, we'll talk about something equally uncomfortable: how American financial weapons really work. Until then, keep asking questions they don't want you to ask.